everyone, it's Nichol Spohr and welcome back to the Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel. Today I'm sharing a card and envelope created with components from the November 2020 card kit called Big Thanks Autumn. We'll also be using the Mink toner stamping to foil our Big Thanks from this stamp set. First, we are going to figure out our placement for our large floral image from the Big Thanks Autumn 6x8 clear stamp set, as well as the sentiments that we're going to use. I did kind of switch around what I ended up using for the smaller sentiment, but we will get to that after a bit. We want to stamp the larger floral cluster along the bottom edge of the Neenah Desert Sand cardstock included in the kit. I trimmed it down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches first, and we're going to stamp that image with the Lawn Fawn Crunchy Leaf ink. This is an ink that is made for Copic coloring that is not black. I love it because when you're done, you end up with an almost no line coloring kind of look, but the lines are still very, very easy to see, which is what I was going for here. I love the look of Copic coloring on a craft cardstock as it gives a completely different look than coloring on white. It almost warms it up a little bit. It's especially nice for fall themed cards, other occasions and seasons as well, but I really love it with these fall colors. We're going to color the large sunflower first. I've listed the colors across the top of the screen. There is a lot of coloring in this video and I have sped it up quite a bit to save a little bit of time. A little later in the video, when I stamp the top portion of the floral cluster, I'm going to speed that up even more, and I'm not going to list the colors out since it's just going to be a repetition of everything you've seen here. But I do think it's kind of fun to watch the rest of the card come together. Now, I had not initially thought that I would foil my sentiment from this stamp set on my card. Otherwise, I think I would have done that first for just one reason. It absolutely worked out fine, so I'm really lucky. But if it had not worked out, I would have wasted all of that time coloring. You could still trim out the panel, and ultimately it's why I decided to go ahead and go for it, because I thought I could always just kind of, cut off the part if it messed up and use it for another card design so it wasn't wasted. But you do run that risk. So if you are ever concerned about that, go ahead and do that step first and then come back and stamp and color. Or you could even just stamp the outline because that's fairly easy, but just save the coloring for later since that's the most time-consuming part of this whole design. But definitely worth it. Now, I tried to stay within the little circles of the center of the sunflower to start with, and I really quickly decided that did not matter and you can't really tell. I did take several colors of ink and just dot little centers in that to finish it off. I love how the sunflower turned out. It definitely is the focal point of this beautiful design. In the stamp set, there is the large and small of the sunflowers as well. So if you want to stamp just individual flowers and even a couple of leaves, you can do that without having to do this big, large image. You can see how well that crunchy leaf ink shows up, but as you start adding color, it really just isn't as bold as a black outline would be, which is what I wanted for my card today. We're going to switch to some beautiful yellow greens now. These are some of my favorite greens for fall coloring especially, and you want to pick something that will show up on the darker cardstock. It's not dark per se, but it's not white either. I love the yellow greens in 93, 95, 97, and 99. Those are going to be the 4 green colors I use throughout the design in different combinations, and we'll even use a little earth tone in 55 and 57 with some yellow green 93 over the top, which I really like for some fall themed leaves as well. This is a funny combination, and I wasn't sure if it would work, and I tried it out on a scrap piece of the Neenah cardstock first, but I wanted a reddish, purplish type of leaf. And I achieved that with our 85 and 89. You might not necessarily take a pinkish type of marker, but it really worked well, and I love the pop of color. As far as inspiration for coloring in the flowers and leaves today, I took them directly from the Four Seasons Autumn 6x6 paper pad included in the kit. I'm not using a ton of the pattern paper in my project today. I'm only using it for the envelope liner, but I will have a video on my personal blog where I'm using a lot of the pattern paper from the kit, so you can see that in use. It is absolutely gorgeous. So sometimes you can be inspired by other products, and in this case I was. I had looked through the paper pad, and I kind of already knew that I wanted to do a stamping and coloring project on some of the craft cardstock in the kit, but was pleasantly surprised when I could gain inspiration from the pattern paper. It is a gorgeous pattern paper selection that you're getting in the November kit. As far as kit components, that is something else that I tried really hard to stick to today as far as using a lot of the kit components. I know I've heard from a lot of you that you love to see the kit used. You want to see the components of the kit used, not just the stamp set or whatever. And so I am using from the kit the Big Thanks Autumn 6x8 clear stamp set, a sheet of the Four Seasons Autumn 6x6 paper, the Autumn sequin mix. We're going to do a scattering of sequins, a little bit of one of the foil transfer sheets. This is a custom pack from Simon Says Stamp, the deco foil that we're using. I'm going to be using the rest of that in my video on my personal blog. And then we're going to use my absolute favorite, which is kind of funny, is the Darice adhesive foam strips. There are these little teeny tiny thin strips that are perfect for sentiment strips. I use them all the time. I absolutely love them. You get a package of that in the kit, which I think is phenomenal. And then we're using the dark chocolate cardstock, the Desert Storm cardstock, and a bronze envelope. So in total from the kit today, I am using 8 kit products. So just to really show you how you can mix and match the products from your kit to create phenomenal cards. I personally love fall themed cards. They do not have to be Thanksgiving themed or Halloween themed or anything like that. I just love them because this is a thanks. This is a thank you card that could be sent anytime, but it's definitely fall themed. And we all have thank you cards that we need throughout the year, and it's fun to send a seasonal type of thank you card or birthday card. Consider switching it out for a birthday greeting or a thinking of you or a sympathy card, anniversary card, wedding card, whatever it could be. By simply switching out your sentiments, it really extends the life of the design. So hopefully you can be inspired by the design of this card and use it for whatever occasion you are needing a card for. It's starting to come together, isn't it? The more color we get added to this beautiful Big Thanks Autumn floral stamp set, the more beautiful it gets. There's some leaves that have a little bit of a brown undertone to them, which I ended up totally loving and did a little bit more of in the top border of this card design. And then the little kind of purple buds or berries there, that is red violets in 95 and 69. So a little bit different color combination than the leaves that we did. And I love that little pop of purple. And again, that inspiration was taken directly from the Four Seasons Autumn 6x6 pattern paper. We almost have our border completely done, and we're ready to use our Mink toner stamping kit. So this is my first time using it. I'm going to open it up and show you what is inside in case you guys want to try something similar. If you don't have this or don't want to do this, you can always stamp and emboss your sentiment or stamp it with a nice bold ink. There are lots of other ways to get the same look without doing a foil. I am going to open up the stamping kit now, and it comes with the little case and then 3 different foam pads, or these little pads here. And the pads are because they don't really go more than 1 use, because the toner will dry out. So there are replacements available for this. It comes with a great little instruction sheet. I believe you put 15 milliliters, I believe that's right, in the cup. The directions say, and I was following the directions, and then pour this into your felt pad. Now, I went ahead and I actually off camera stamped a whole bunch of extra projects that I could add foil to so that I wasn't wasting this. But I did want to make note that I only did this one card for the video, so it might not seem worth it. What I would do would be stamp a bunch of sentiments or images or whatever it might be, and then you can foil them and create many different kinds of cards. And you can see how fast the toner ink absorbs into that pad. There are individual purchases for all of these things as you need replacements. This has been out for a little while, but this is my first time using it. I've even had it probably for months now, and I've never used it. So I'm really, really excited to show you how this works out. Now, I actually inked up this stamp a few times on scrap paper before bringing it to my project, because as I mentioned, I really did not want to ruin all of that coloring I did. And then we're going to line up the thanks in our MISTI, and I am just taking that little pad and very gently pressing it on to the thanks stamp from the Big Thanks Autumn. And it didn't stamp fantastic the first time. In fact, I probably stamped it 5 or 6 times. That's why I used the MISTI, so that I could get the best impression possible. I do love that the finished card isn't super perfect, that there's little areas that didn't foil. It kind of gives it a little bit of a grungy look, but without being a super grungy type of card. Now, once I get it, the stamping done, I am going to go ahead and let that dry for a second while I get out my laminator, or in this case I'm using the Heidi Swap Mink, so that I can foil this onto my, or use the foil from the kit to foil this sentiment. While I'm waiting for the toner ink to just dry a little bit, which it doesn't take very long, it was probably dry at this point, I am going to use the Lawn Fawn Crunchy Leaf ink to stamp the rest of the floral design that I want at the top of my card. Let's go ahead and grab our mink now. I am heating it up off camera, and I'm going to trim a thin strip of one of the foil sheets, or from one of the foil sheets that is included in the November kit, just enough to go over the thanks. And then I'm just going to place it over that and put it in the little folder to run through the laminator. So here is the mink. It is set on 5 for foiling here. That's going to give you the best result. And kind of ignore, I kind of ruined my folder and I really need to get a new one. But it's not going to do anything to this project. And I can't wait to show you when I pull off the foil here as it's run through and the beautiful results. Foiling just gives you such a different result than even embossing does, or of course plain stamping, and it definitely draws your eye into the card as you tip it. It doesn't always photograph great, but hopefully in the video you can see how pretty that looks. I always like to just take a dry paintbrush and remove any little stray flakes if there are any. I don't really think there were too many here. So you can definitely see how cool that foiling looks on here, and it's a completely different way to use the foil in the kit. You are getting some transfer sheets in the kit that you can use with that, plus Simon sells quite a few different acetate transfer sheets that you can use that foil with. So I will be sharing some ideas with that in other videos, but this was really fun and I can definitely see doing this again. I will tell you, I think that the bolder the stamp is, so this thanks is a good one, the better the results with the foiling or the stamping with the toner ink. I will try out some other ideas and see how that works, but a bold sentiment or a bold image works really, really nice, and I'm very happy with this because I think it adds to the fall elegance I was going for. We're just speeding through the rest of the coloring, and then we're going to finish off our card because we have some fun finishing details with more products from this kit. That's going to include a little stamped and embossed sentiment on the dark chocolate cardstock. So we're just taking our Big Thanks Autumn clear stamp set. Stamping Will Never Be Enough on this dark chocolate cardstock using the Simon Says Stamp clear embossing ink. Heat embossing with antique gold embossing powder. And then we're going to die cut this with one of my favorite Simon Says Stamp die sets, the nested banners. This is the one that has the little angled sides to it. And then we're taking that thin adhesive foam strip. You can see that in the bottom of the screen here. And we are going to place this on the back and pop it right underneath the foiled thanks. That's going to finish off our sentiment. And I love how thin they are. They work fantastic for sentiment strips, which we all love and use all the time. I can't recommend those foam adhesive strips enough. I use them all the time. Next, we are taking some of that autumn sequin mix included in the kit, and we're layering sequins and adding just a little scattering throughout the card. We don't want to overwhelm the design, but I do want to add a few. And it adds a nice additional little touch of sparkle that looks great with the foiling and Copic coloring. We're going to place this entire panel on a white top fold card base, and then we are going to finish our card by adding some special touches to an envelope. In the kit this month, you're getting 3 envelopes, a bronze envelope, a burnt orange envelope, and a white envelope, and we are going to use the bronze envelope because I think it just looks fantastic with this card. And we're going to create an envelope liner first with the Simon Says Stamp envelope liner die, and I like to slide it inside. I only put adhesive on the top part, fold that down, and then just fold the envelope shut to adhere it. So we're using that pretty kind of orangey tone-on-tone leaf subtle background as our envelope liner, and look at what a difference that makes and how beautiful it looks when the recipient opens that up. On the front of our envelope along the bottom edge, we are going to take individual images from the Big Thanks Autumn stamp set and stamp them with clear embossing ink and heat emboss with the antique gold embossing powder. This leaves plenty of room for the return address and the address on the front of the envelope, but yet gives it a nice little touch that just matches the look and feel of the rest of the design. There is some overlap of the images, and instead of masking it off, I simply removed any embossing powder that was overlapping the sunflower with a small paintbrush, dry paintbrush, and I'm going to continue to do that throughout the design here. So the next little sunflower I stamp and leaf, there's going to be a bit of overlap here, and we'll just remove any of that embossing powder. I think I stamped 6 times along the bottom edge. So a large sunflower, a small sunflower, and 4 leaves, just to kind of fill it out and make it super pretty. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this fall themed card and envelope featuring components from the November 2020 card kit called Big Thanks Autumn. Please be sure to visit the Simon Says Stamp blog for more information. The supplies for this project can be found under the video here on YouTube, as well as over on the Simon Says Stamp blog. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time here on the Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel.